Hi, and welcome everybody to the B Podcast, the podcast of the Barcelona International Dance Exchange. Today, in our episode 93, we are with our friend Felix Landerer. Felix, thank you so much to be with us and give you some time of your day.
I'm very happy to do so. Thanks for having me.
I hope that I pronounced your family name properly.
Close enough. Thank you
Close enough.
very much.
Okay. I'll be practicing more for the future. So for Felix, we always start with our guest by asking them who they are. Then we can talk a bit about what are you doing. That is a lot of things and a lot of projects and of course running a company. But if you can tell to our audience who is Felix nowadays in this early autumn moment of the year.
Felix Landerer is a choreographer and artistic director. I live and work in Bielefeld in Hanover, Germany. At the moment, my main occupation is to be artistic director at the City Theater in Bielefeld for the dance company, Tanz Bielefeld. But I also have my own company called Landerer&Company, which works mostly in Hanover, and it's a project-based company. So it's kind of I divide myself in between those two companies and two cities. But for this season, with the main attention on the development of the company here at Tanz Bielefeld.
Okay, so second one, can you tell us a bit as a human being how you define yourself nowadays?
Well, let me try. I think the work has a lot of influence at the moment, simply time-wise and capacity-wise. But I think it says something about me if I say that I need a very human and very warm, open space to work in. So that means my work depends on human connection, on who the people are that are around me, that I'm working with, how communicative they are, what kind of energy they give away. So I think I'm sensitive to energies. I think I function not just as a professional, but also as a human being, maybe the best if I feel like everyone else, that I can be myself, that I don't have to pretend, that I encounter other human beings that are authentic in the way that they are open to others, that there's an interest in others. Yeah, so I think that defines me maybe a little bit as a human being, that I can feel restricted, I can feel blocked if I feel I'm in an environment, professionally and private, that forces me to pretend to be something else or someone else. That I am, and I think that might be also the strength of what I do professionally. But I anchor myself very much with people that that I feel there's a directness and authenticity and interest, and I'm very little functioning under or in a room where I have to, I don't know, make myself bigger than what I am. Let's say it this way.
And talking about size and sensitivity, what do you feel that you're bringing to the performing arts as Felix also, not just as a choreographer and as a dance creator, from this place that you already defined and share with us?
I would say the longer I work, the more I learned how to define what I'm looking for. And I'm very interested in translating that or communicating that to others. So it's a little bit, yeah, it has a similar approach to what I just described. I feel if I can create a space in which people can relax and people can be themselves, including their doubts, their fears, their hesitations, their insecurities, their vulnerabilities, I think then if that works, then I feel then I created a space that can hold inspiration, that can be trustful, that can be daring, that can be bending my own, but also the people that I work with in their attempt of exploration, of experimentation, of exploring our own limitations and hopefully bending them and expanding them. And I think that's something that I really appreciate if the companies, the people that I work with, if they share that value, and if they share the feeling of trust, of allowing to fail, allowing to attempt and not succeed, and all those things are so important for development in my point of view, that's maybe the main, one of the main goals of how to work and how to be in a space with others and guide them, be inspired, or to try to inspire them. And if that happens, I feel I'm in a happy place. I feel that's a very rewarding sense of work, or it goes beyond work. I think it's a sense of sharing and opening up. And so I think that happens mostly for me in the studio. And I hope always that we can carry that energy into the performance space and share it with an audience. But I really thrive on a group of people that is able to connect in that way.
And you named two important words, and I would like to ask you your take on that. You name failing and also trust. Where, because it's something that we already spoke when we met together in Holland, in Rotterdam last June. What is nowadays the sense of fail and the sense of trust from your point of view?
I think you have to fail. I think you have to attempt, and you have to allow yourself to make mistakes in order to grow. I think this refinement of your toolbox is very much depending on this trust, this daring to be with someone else in the space, and to know that you can fail, to know that you can attempt, that something can work out, but that it's also okay not to succeed. And I think with this allowance, I think comes a lot of trust. But that has to be built first. I encounter a lot of dancers or performers that are not used to that. So there's a very strong sense of delivering to expectations of a maker, or to the idea of a performance. And that puts a pressure on it that sometimes is, it's not beneficial. So for me, trust and the allowance to fail and to accept that as a part of rehearsing and attempting feels a necessary and welcome tool almost to develop together. So yeah, I try to relax people in this way, that yeah, that we get quicker to a place where we are actually collaborating, rather than to try to fulfill the expectations or needs of the other one. So not always easy, because we're of course under pressure. We also have to produce, and we have to come to a result, of course. So there's not an endless resource of time. But in general, I feel it's for me, is the most rewarding way to spend my time.
Mm. Great. And to go on with this train of thoughts, you name a lot of, that the meaning of time, and also the meaning of being with each other, being with the other ones. And it's something that we was talking with other guests, because we both have, let's say, a path already, a long path. So what is your take when you work with young dancers? Not young in the from the aspect of the age. It's more maybe in what moment of their career are, about this idea of time, and patience to grow, to cultivate, to, as you said, attempt to fail, and also sometimes find a solution. You feel any difference than, like, say, 10 or 15 years ago when you start over, or is kind of the same?
It's a bit difficult to answer, because I feel 10 years ago I was a very different person. I might have been kind and patient in my approach how to work with people, but I think I might not have been as confident and experienced in my toolbox, so to speak. So how do I try to get people to this place of trust and patience and exploration? So it's a bit difficult to say that the dancers or the performers have changed, although I think it's recognizable that I meet younger performers, or performers with maybe less experience, and I feel there's a different curiosity, a curiosity that is mixed with yeah, an open mind, something that opens up the moment that you allow them, or the moment that they realize, okay, I have time. I'm not forced to produce. I'm not forced to be perfect, to be impressive immediately. So that there is a sense of investment. And I think once you are young or older, a performer, and you feel you get this time and this trust, that you say, okay, wherever we are now, this is not necessarily defining our relationship. Our relationship will be defined by how far we will go together. And let's say we take a regular process of, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks. If both parties are willing to invest into each other, into what we're doing, and into what we're trying to achieve, I think there's a sense of growth that can be very satisfying. But it takes a bit of time to get rid of everything I described before, which is so common for us in a dance space, to feel pressure, to feel this, I have to prove myself, I have to be quick, I have to learn fast. And it's funny how much this is imprinted in a lot of dancers. And so there's a pressure, and you feel the business brings it with it. So and then it needs maybe to break down that skeleton, to break down that old crust that is around our field. And so I would say it really depends on people if they have an explorative mind, a curious mind, and that is maybe less depending on age and more depending on personality.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what do you say your influence came from? I mean, we spoke about it when we met together, but uh, in, I mean, from the sense of what type of references you have nowadays, and as you say, 10 years ago you felt another person. So how these, let's say, references and influence work through the time in your case?
I would say 10 years ago I was more influenced, maybe. I felt
Nowadays,
yeah,
not.
I felt there was more search going on, and that search was maybe sometimes more external. So I was looking for inspiration from outside, and I feel this. I don't know. It's not only positive, of course, if you stay within your own little universe, but if you really search and if you really try to find new pathways within what you do and to redefine, I don't know what you want to call it, your footprint,
Yeah, yeah. Your
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 signature.
your trace.
Yeah, then I think there's a that can be rewarding too, because everything that we do has to do with translation. Translating it
Mm,
to the people that you work with, but also translating it to an audience, translating a subject, a theme, whatever you're radiating towards, or whatever you're working on. It has so much to do with finding the right tools, the right words, the right steps, the right tensions, the right state of minds, whatever you're looking for. The more clear you are with, and the more experienced you are with how to get people and how to find those translations, the more enriching can be a process or even the result on stage. So I feel, yeah, 10 years ago, I would have said I would have been maybe more insecure than I am now, even though that never leaves me. But the way of translating got much clearer and much more rich and diverse, and this is very satisfying to me. So, as I'm a person that's very much interested in process and in the time that we spend together in the studio, this is one of the reasons why I would say, like, I'm happier now than I've been 10 years ago,
mm,
and maybe a bit calmer in the sense of I think I know what I'm looking for, and I think I know how to get there.
mm. Super. And following back to the question about what you are bringing, you start, you open the door about what do you feel that the performing arts give you back, what you are getting from all this experience,
Mm.
besides, being where you are right now, as you spoke before.
Mhm. I mean, first of all, being in this field and working in this field and being so exposed to so many minds and opinions and um, curiosity, but also judgment. There's so much in this industry and in this line of work that we do that has something to do with putting yourself out there, creating something, placing it somewhere. If you're lucky, on big stages. If not, it's the same risk. You share something that is unprotected, and I think that is something that you learn a lot from. I think you learn to define your own values. What is important to you? What do you take? What do you accept as a feedback, as a criticism, as so who do you listen to? I think this is something that that is a valuable lesson that you can learn being in this field. And beside that, of course, I feel it's an absolute privilege to share those things. So to be able to put something on stage and to share it with with a lot of people that you work with, to be allowed to develop something, to ask people to follow you into that unknown, into that into the beginning of every process, where you basically you're attempting something and there's no guarantee that this will be good or successful or how it will be received. So there's so many factors that you have actually no influence on, and to be allowed to take people and make them kind of follow you into this unknown is a beautiful thing. And as I said, if you then manage to create a space with your collaborators that is open and wants to find something together, that in itself is such a beautiful thing about what we do, that I would say that's something I get back a lot, and that's very satisfying to me. On the flip side, as I described in the beginning, I feel there is something you have to protect. You have to also, you have to find a way to deal with expectations, other people's expectation, your own expectation, dancers, performers' expectations, audience's expectation. So I think there's a big lesson to learn on how to position yourself, how to be long-term in this business, how to deal with failure, how to deal with success and the opposite of success. So a lot of things to learn. And I think one really good point is like to choose people that, that are maybe critical, but that are positively critical, that you can trust that they have your best interest in mind, that you trust that they don't want to destroy, they want to lift something up. And so that's also a lesson I think you can learn. Who do you trust? Who do you lean on when shit hits the fan? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, and this leads me to the next question that we introduced here. So, I mean, we are talking about leaning, building up, and how many times you thought about quitting, about that's it, enough,
No, I think it's a necessary part of it. I think if you want to stay attuned to yourself, if you want to stay on challenging yourself, so you have to question once in a while your own value, your own principles. You have to look at it from outside. You have to be critical, not too critical, but I think a good amount of self-observation, and that can lead to the fact of disencouraging you, or to doubt your own worth. You doubt if it's worth to invest this huge amount of energy and communication, and the risk and the insecurities that you carry, and the vulnerabilities of the business. There's so many aspects that could lead very quickly to the fact that you want to surrender. And I think in those moments, again, it's so important that you have the right people around you, that you know who you're doing it for. And maybe that, as the last point, you have to ask yourself why you're doing it and who you're doing it for. And those two answers you have to ask regularly. And I think you have to also answer them very honestly, because you can fall into into a loop, into something that because it demands so much attention and so much energy. So you can just like end up in the hamster wheel, and then you look back and 10 years later, you're like, did I enjoy what I did? Do I still like what I do? Do I honestly like being in the studio and produce work that you have no clue if people will like it or not? So yeah, I'd say there's a lot of vulnerabilities, and to protect yourself, it's necessary to ask those questions.
Great. And what is next for you? What do you feel that your curiosity is driving through, or where you think be your next steps, thinking about the future?
I mean, that's a very immediate future. That is like the next production.
Okay.
And we're actually addressing expectations. So a lot of the things that I just described, I'm trying to reflect on in the next work, to address the relation and expectation between arts and audiences. And yeah, I think it's a very interesting field, and it's maybe too challenging to attempt to cover it in a dance production, but it opens a lot of doors in terms of what is performance, what is your own wish to create, and how to reflect on that if you take into consideration that you have to be successful in order to prevail in this business. You have to fill the seats. Now being in a theater and working in something that is, of course, as every cultural institution, it's depending on money. You just realize, okay, how much liberty, how much freedom do I actually have if I work in this field, and how much risk can I take? And so there's a lot of questions that I think I deal with personally that I can also involve in this project. And then it's the rest of the season, of course. Other projects are coming up, the planning of the next 2 seasons. It's I talked to someone, and because I'm new in this business now, in this position of an artistic director in a theater, and he said basically there's no stop. It's like there's no moment of, oh, we achieved that, let's celebrate that, because you already have to think 6, 7, 8 productions ahead, and so there's something very interesting about that. And if you think about creativity and how much space it would need and how much time you would need, so it's a lot about finding your peace in that, your joy, and so it's a very interesting time for me personally, artistically, to answer those questions or to raise those questions. Now, is that something that makes you happy? Is that something that feels satisfying? In that way, it's I'm very much on a pulse right now with this production, on my own pulse. I don't know if this addresses other people's pulses, but I feel very connected to this subject and to this question of expectation and expectation management in a way. Yeah.
Great. So we have since last year a ritual where each guest left leave a question to the next one without knowing who will be. You have a question from a previous guest, but before we ask you this one, what do you like to ask to our next guest without knowing who will be?
Is it like in the same field? Yeah, right. No, it's like
yeah, can be. We also talk with with sound designers, composers, managers, producers. So, but you are not allowed to know who.
No, I assume. When was the last time that you felt a childish innocent sense of joy and excitement while you were working what you're working?
Great. Great question. Okay. So you have a question from Paloma Hurtado, a dancer and choreographer from Canary Island. And the question in Spanish is, ¿es posible cambiar el mundo con la danza? Is possible to change the world with the dance or by dancing?
Yes, it would be possible if enough people would do it, and if people would break down the barrier of dance by defining it through aesthetics and let's say a disciplinary idea of dance. But if dance would be considered an art form of encounter, communication, listening, providing space for others, a platform of exchange, a platform of encountering and dealing with unknowns, with things that are strange and unfamiliar to us, then I think we can change something about encountering, about listening, about giving space to others. There's something very deep and meaningful and human in what we do. But not every form of dance qualifies for it. So I think there has to be a big amount of space and openness as a resource. And then I think dance can be very powerful and very liberating.
Absolutely. And finally, what type of title do you like to name this podcast? With what type of title, or how you be uh, yes, the main tagline, so to speak.
A nice space filled with enough trust and openness to talk about stuff.
So it's delightful to hear you, Felix. I can have the same feeling when we met in June. Hope our
Me too.
listeners is getting the same energy, because you are really honest and really transparent, and this is something that not all the time happens, and it's absolutely big value for them. So thank you so much again for give us this moment, and this also all these thoughts, emotions, and point of view that are amazing. Yeah.
Thank you too. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
So this was the episode number 93, and see you in the next one.